So we're here to try and give an example of how to write one of these debates.
So I wrote about, is design technology a vocational subject? Which I thought was actually, although it's number one on the list, I actually found, for me, one of the most interesting. Because for many years I probably argued that it was.
So you've taken a different viewpoint now, have you?
I think, I have a different viewpoint now. I definitely have a different viewpoint now. And I think that's come from just being a bit more open in terms of my understanding, I think, of what DT, I think, actually brings to students rather than just a single set of job skills.
Right, okay. So you chose that one. So shall I share the screen and then people can see what it is that you've written, and you can have a chat about how you went about writing this. Right. So tell us how you started this then.
Now, I know I don't have a traditional way of starting to write. I like to read, and as I read, I write sentences or short paragraphs, and then I join them all together.
Okay.
So each kind of paragraph was a different thought that I had.
So were you doing some reading when you were writing this then?
When I read when I was looking at the questions, I went straight to looking for some reports that I'd read about the sort of link DT to vocational education and vocational subjects. Previously, that I'd done to kind of support why DT in previous schools needed better investment.
So go on, talk us through a little bit about what you've got here then, and what you've suggested.
So kind of what I went with was that I actually truly believe that design technology is not a vocational subject, and especially when we're looking at it between the key stages 1 and 3, that it has a much broader skill set, knowledge base to offer than just for a particular line of jobs. I think that it encourages people to take and apply knowledge. Whilst I'm not saying you have to have knowledge to design, I think it does allow you to take knowledge that you have from various subjects and apply it to various different contexts.
Right, I really want to unpick that whole comment that you've just said. I know that's not why we're not here. Not why we're here. It's because you could see my face react, couldn't you? You know, when you said you don't have to have knowledge to design. Do you want to? I'm going to offer a tangent, right? You know how I do this. Go on, tell me a little bit more about that.
So, I think to design well, you need to be able to acquire knowledge for designing, but I don't think you necessarily need the prior knowledge to be a designer. So I can, if I need to do a project, I can go away having not got that knowledge, have the skill to research it and acquire it to apply it to that context.
Right.
But I don't think I need to be an expert in a subject to be able to design for it.
Okay. So you're saying you don't need the context-specific knowledge for that design?
I think so.
Right, okay. That's kind of why, because, right, okay. That's the whole of the podcast.
That's my bad wording, I think.
No, it is only, 10 o'clock on a Monday morning. So, you know, I do get that. That's fine. And you know me now well enough, Ciaran, that if you say something that I can think, I want to go off down that track, then I'm going to go down there, whether you're ready for it or not. Right, okay, so let's go back to what you've written here. So you've sort of, this is like a thought stream, what you've written here then?
Yeah, very much so.
Did you go back and edit it at all?
I gave it a very quick read, planned to do a lot more to it, and then realised that I'd send this about 2 days earlier than I did, and thought, quickly better send it across.
Right, okay. So yeah, the usual kind of sort of...
lastminute.com.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I had to write an abstract for a book chapter, and had to write that very quickly, shall we say. So, and how did you feel about the idea of going back and editing it?
Honestly, it's not something I know I'm good at. We have a little bit of a pact in our house. I say things, my wife types and edits them, and if it's my thing, she does that, and if it's her thing, we kind of do the same.
Right, okay. Yeah.
I normally would get her to go over it and make it sound better.
different title,
Fluent.
maybe. Yeah. So your reaction to editing is kind of quite normal. Do you know what I mean? I know that if I write something, I find it quite painful to go back and have to edit it. It's particularly painful if I had to submit it somewhere and then it comes back with comments about editing. That I find that it can take me weeks to actually open that email properly to look at it. So we kind of thought what would be useful, wouldn't it, is if people who are wanting to put something into this debate but don't know how to, we kind of share yours. So the way you've talked about how you've planned it and thought about it and written it, I think is really useful. And then I kind of want to give a little bit of insight into how I might edit it, so that it's kind of for its readability, basically, and its accessibility. So, and there's a couple of things on what you've written, Ciaran, that I want to pick out that I really like. So when I'm editing, I automatically put on track changes and show comments because then I can do stuff. And so obviously I've edited a couple of books, so I kind of got a bit of a technique. So what I really like about what you've done here is that you've put very clearly right at the beginning your answer to the question. I really like that, because I think that's so easy for people to do, is to not actually say what they think about the question, whether they agree or whether they disagree. And I also like the way you've done that again at the bottom. People might notice that I kind of got lots of dots and little markers. I always put the format markers on so I can see where I've got returns and such for formatting. That's kind of my thing. So so I'm going to kind of go through and talk through what I think could maybe just sort of tighten it up a little bit. So I'm just going to put a return in here. So you start here by in short, no. So I'm actually going to change that to a comma. So people don't worry about whether you're any good at grammar or punctuation. Just write it. We'll edit it and we'll send it back to you. And you can agree or disagree. And I'll show you how we'll send those back to you for your feedback. You don't have to agree with any of the edits that's made. And Ciaran can kind of go, no, I don't really agree with that. So design and technology is not a vocational subject. This is something else that I get people to do, is to read it out loud, which is always really painful. It does not define a career path, does not prioritise a particular career or set of knowledge for a particular career, nor, I'm going to put a comma in there, does it limit students to a particular job, role or vocation. So what I really like here about this opening kind of sort of mini paragraph is, again, you're restating what the whole focus of your answer is, and then you list what it does not do, right? That you believe design and technology does not define a career path, it does not prioritise, it does not create a set of knowledge for a particular career, nor does it, and I really like this bit, nor does it limit students to a particular job, role or vocational. So I really like the way that you're actually turning it around by saying, if it is a vocational subject, then actually kind of what we're saying is that the subject is channeling students in that direction, and so it's limiting in a way, whereas actually you're saying that it's the opposite of that. So I think that's a really nice, strong opening sentence. And just for people who are watching or listening to this, just be aware, Ciaran sent this to me, that we had no prior discussion, okay? So if it's good, it's genuinely good, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? This isn't me kind of actually praising my own edits. So I'm going to change that to at key stages 1 to 3, partly because the first time that appears in the book, then I'll change it to brackets KS, but at the moment we don't know, and to kind of be confident that readers understand what we're talking about. Now, so we've got to be clear about here, are we talking about design, capital T, capital D, or are we talking about lowercase? So you've got a whole thing here going on. So what I might do is, if I put the navigation page on, this is the other thing that I do, is I might find design and technology and change it to design and technology, and I might make sure it doesn't do that, and there we go. So I replace it, so I kind of know that I've got a consistency in the language. This sounds like I'm being really fussy. I am really fussy.
No, not at all.
But actually when you get those things consistent, it makes it much easier for a reader, because then they're confident that you are talking about the same thing throughout, if that makes sense. So in key stages 1 to 3, so we could be really picky and we could go So 3, design and technology offers students a chance to apply their knowledge and learning to different scenarios. It also allows students to develop a set of skills to analyse, problem solve, and redefine a solution to a problem. Okay, so that seems okay. So that's all about this, like this scenarios and general set of skills. Design and technology as a part of general education offers students a chance to apply their learning. So there's a bit of repetition going on there.
There is, yeah.
But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put a comment in. Okay, so if I just reduce the screen size, so you can see that comment's come up there. So basically what I'm saying is I'm leaving that for you to edit and decide on. Because what I'm really conscious of is I don't want to take away from your voice. So this is, and I presume there's meant to be an I believe.
I think so, yeah.
And we've got then 2 is's, because I'm going to put a comma after the believe. Just one, I'm going to make this bigger again so people can see what I'm doing. Let's take the navigation page off. Just one underrepresented, not sure I'd bother changing it to that, that feels like an American value of design and technology. The example I like to use is marketing and promotion. And then I start thinking, oh, we're into a different thing here. So I kind of feel like that needs expanding. So I'm going to put another comment because, and you can do, because you've only used 491 words. So you've got space to add more. And then I'm going to just change that. This is a job that has a heavy reliance on being able to convey meaning and evoke emotion, often through words. I'm going to put a comma because it just feels like a comma should be there. So is this, and I'm going to put another comment. What's this? I'm now a little bit confused about what the this is. The domain of an English lesson. And again, you've kind of got a lot of this does not convey the creativity needed to develop the marketing material, nor does it account for the skills needed in various design programs. It is the application of the knowledge which brings value to the knowledge of being able to write with fluency. So yeah, I just kind of feel like that whole paragraph just needs a little bit of fleshing out to build on your example up here. So in this paragraph here, you've got these general skills which you are saying are relevant to different scenarios. You're using design skills and creativity. And then in this this paragraph here, you kind of give an example. It just needs a bit more fleshing out, is what I would suggest. I am not trying to convince anyone or myself that design and technology cannot lead, encourage and prepare students, vocational students. I'm not kind of quite sure how lead fits there. So I'm just going to put another comment and just put word choice on that because I'm not quite sure that's the right word.
Okay.
However, it is not something we can set our stall out by. Now I'm going to go, why not? Right? Because it's just about giving a little bit more detail. Despite growing calls by industry that students do not have the right skills to enter the workplace, or a general shortage of skilled workers in the engineering and construction centres, design and technology at its core is about more than this narrow set of jobs. Right, I'm actually going to be bold here and move that whole paragraph to there because it kind of follows on.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? At key stage 4, I believe it is possible to argue that certain subjects can offer or prepare students for figure. However, isn't this the point of students choosing their options? Question mark. Does not choosing health and social care offer both? You've got lots of knots in that sentence. Right, if you're going to put these and you've got to put the references at the end.
Yes, I did. I thought about that literally as soon as I'd sent it, like I should have referenced them properly.
Or the other way of doing it, just don't reference them. That's my cop-out sometimes is, I can't be bothered. So just take the references out, right? You know, you can just put, it's often been reported that. It's not an academic piece of work, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. To identify that STEM employers believe in technology. So what I really like here is actually you're sort of standing on the other side and saying there's lots of, you know, there are these people, and you might want to put a quote and you might want to get something from one of those that put a spotlight on D&T, that argue that D&T is vocational, but then you kind of unpick a little bit about why that's about Key Stage 4, not about general education where all children are studying it. You like your howevers, don't you?
Possibly, yeah.
So the other thing that I do, if I start to kind of get a sense that somebody's using the same word, I go to navigation. Yeah, 3 times. So 3 times in 450 words is, to me, is 500. It's kind of quite a lot because it starts to pop out because you're starting your sentence with it. So if I just accept that change, and then if I look up synonym, you know, so there's other words that you could use though, but yet still. Anyway, however, so again, you're coming back to that original point about it being a broad, and I'm going to put in here, and general curriculum to study student is to allow them to develop a broad range. I'm going to be picky here and say,
Am I just repeating that from the first paragraph?
Well, possibly, because it's a summary, though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's your end. And I think if you expand on this example, clarify this a bit, deal with some of the repetition here and give a little bit more detail, do you know what I mean? Then I think that's okay. Does that make sense? And you've got to be consistent about whether you mean broad or general. I don't think you've... Because you've obviously got a thing, haven't you, that it's about the scenarios are really important.
Yes.
So that you might want to put a little bit, just a little thing in a bracket or something that says, this is why, you know, this is what I mean by a scenario. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It is really, I mean, you have got another 250 words, and there are some things that I think might come out. I'm thinking as I'm recording this, I'm thinking, blimey, some people are going to be watching this and going, Gordon Bennett, I thought she was meant to be helping us write this, and now she's actually saying she's going to send it back to this poor fella with all these edit comments. Well, how do you feel about it? Go on.
For me, who am actively trying to put myself out there a bit more, I'm trying to write more, I'm trying to be a little bit more open to current literature and knowledge. I find this really useful for actually thinking about how I can put myself actually as a teacher and an educator and aspiring writer, I guess.
Yeah, so aspiring writer, I like that. I think for those people who do get involved, I do think there is an issue in design and technology, because I know, well, I can only speak from my own experience. You know, I started in academia 13 years ago. I'd done my master's before then, and it doesn't come naturally to write. You know, it's not something that we do in design and technology, but we do need to be able to articulate our perspectives. And I suppose for people who do decide to take part in this, then what they can do is learn from this process. It's helping you, as you say, it's helping you articulate. So when you go and have a conversation with the senior leader, who is more than likely going to come from the humanities, because they all seem to come from there, which suggests to me that they don't like their subjects as much as D&T teachers do. You know, they have much more of a history and a grounding in their subjects of writing and debating and such, whereas we don't in design and technology through, you know, the oral word or the written word. We might do it through drawings and models and artifacts and such. So anybody who's taking part, just kind of see this as a tutorial, you know, that it's helping you get better at articulating your perspectives, which will become useful for what you're doing. And I really want people in design and technology to write. So that's why my face lit up when you said you were an aspiring writer. To me, you're a writer, Ciaran. Do you know what I mean? You write. You know, you've written a paper with us, you've done this, you're doing quite a lot of writing along the way on this project. You're writing. So the next thing that I will do is I would then save this. If I go into my online locations, this is where people can see how I organise my file systems, projects, I'm hoping there it is. Okay, there you go. Ellis response, call this attract changes copy. And then I will save it again as a clean copy. So I would, on this version, I will accept all the changes and stop tracking. So what I will do is I will send you the 2 copies. So you can read the clean copy, okay, without any of the track changes, but just with the comments on. And then you can see the track changes copy, and you can say, well, I don't really like the way she's changed that or whatever. And then you would send another version back to me. That's how it works. So that's what I do when I'm editing.
Thank you very much.
That's all right. That's all right. So do you want to share any last minute tips to anybody who might be listening to this and thinking about writing?
I think the first thing I'd say is that you've got nothing to lose by giving it a go. At this point, this is really about getting teachers to have a say and teachers to have a voice. And it's not often we're given a chance to do that. Often policy and specifications are written with consultation of certain teachers that might agree with a particular view. This is completely open to everyone. Everyone who's currently a teacher gets a chance to have a say. And for me, I think that's an opportunity that we can't really pass by.
No, yeah, that's key. And I've got a meeting on the 18th of December with the DFE. They're interested in me sharing what teachers are saying. I've said that I'll do that anonymously, and obviously anything that goes in the book will have names attached. But at the moment, as we're filtering through, so if people get their thoughts in before then, and they'll be edited, there's a whole process. This is going to take another few months. Then get those in. And I think that the key thing for me, and I'm hoping that people realise that as I was editing Ciaran's, I wasn't changing the content. I wasn't changing the message. I'm hoping that came across. Because it's not about me imposing. And I was desperate to question some of the things that you were saying, but that's not what my role is as an editor. Okay, so, and hopefully over time, yourself, Ciaran, Amanda, and Andy will also get in some of that editing and kind of get those skills as well. So you see, it's not just writing, it's editing too. So, so thanks very much for sharing that. I'll be sharing with the DFE. We'll get this uploaded on as a podcast, and the first ever, what is it, a vidcast? I don't know what it is. What's the word? I don't know.
No idea.
I mean, crikey, I'm 53 and I've got no idea what these words are anymore. Brain's addled. Right. Okay. Thanks ever so much, Ciaran.
Thank you.
All right.